Welcome to the Bible Momming Podcast, where we are parenting by the book. I'm your host, Paula Whidden. This podcast is for women who struggle with regular mom stuff, but also long to have their kids grow closer to Christ. It's a lifetime journey, and we're in it together. As a real mom, you just never know where I'll be podcasting from, but I'll always be available for you. Now let's get started. Hello, mamas. How are you doing today? On today's episode, we are talking about the secrets to having thankful kids. So, mamas, I am enjoying this day and I am not enjoying this day, which is kind of funny because here I am getting ready to do a thankful podcast, but it's been a busy day already. So far I've helped my daughter with homework, gotten the dog's nails trimmed, visited a friend who was expecting a baby, and I'm excited to spend time with you, and I just appreciate every single one of you. I'm drinking my pumpkin spice protein shake because I am now on a detox. I don't know if you're familiar, but there's a company called Arbonne, and a friend of mine has been with Arbonne for years. And so I have been doing this United States of Pie since last spring. And if you're not familiar, I'll be talking about that coming up in episodes in the future. But basically, my daughter and I decided to make a pie from every state in the United States. And that meant 50 pies, which is a lot of pies. And we had fun figuring out what we would want. But I knew that after all that pie, I was going to need to cleanse or detox or something like that. And so talked to my friend, and that's what I'm doing right now. The pumpkin spice protein shake is my lunch, and I'm even doing a little bit of a cleanse mixed with it, so it's kind of hopefully cleaning out my body so that I'm all ready for Thanksgiving, which in my mind is pie season. Please, I have issues. Okay, now, but I wanted to let you guys know I am dealing with some challenges with my my left eye right now, and that is because apparently I have some sort of autoimmune disease that likes to express itself in my eye, which I found especially funny because I knew I was talking about thankfulness. I knew I was going to be doing this episode with you all. And I was trying to figure out, okay, here's the challenge. Am I thankful? And even just had a conversation with my daughter, my oldest daughter, just a little bit ago, where I know that we've had family members with autoimmune disease. As I'm trying to figure out how to be wise and take care of my body and see if there's any healthy ways that I can deal with this apart from the steroids they want me to put in my eyes. And I am doing that because it's absolutely necessary. But the challenge becomes, okay, well, what am I thankful for? And I was telling my daughter, if this came up over and over and over again throughout my entire life, and this is, and going down worst case scenario land if it continued and there was horrible things where I had to do stuff with my body to take care of it. And yet it did not express itself the way it did with my grandmother, who had rheumatoid arthritis and was in massive pain all the time. I'm like, yeah, I could do this. All right. And I hate the comparison. I shouldn't compare. And yet at the same time, I'm trying to figure out, okay, how am I thankful? And I am thankful. I'm amazingly thankful that I live in a first world country. I mean, I was actually asking my doctor about this because I visited Uganda about a year and a half ago, and I've been helping to support, our family has been supporting an orphan. No, she's not really an orphan. Excuse me. A young girl in Uganda who's looking to get education in a very tough situation. And I got to meet her face to face, which was awesome. We do that with Children of the Nations and loved doing that. But I find myself thinking, if I was in Uganda right now and I lived with Dorothy, that's the girl that we sponsor, if I lived with Dorothy in her family situation, what would I do? And I asked my doctor about that. I said, what would happen if somebody had this autoimmune disease and their eye did this and they live in a third world country? And he says, I honestly don't know. I don't know what would happen because I only know what we do here. And so I have a great deal to be thankful for, even as I'm struggling with it. So please forgive me. But I don't know about you. You probably have your own stuff. I mean, everybody has their own things that pop up and jump out. I mean, I just saw a thing where somebody posted a picture of how she feels about herself. And she had this picture of people who were all alike. And it was kind of like, she said there was a big bird in between Darth Vader and the Imperial Guard. And she said, this is how I feel when I'm out with the cool moms. And I just thought, I don't know if I think of Darth Vader as the cool moms, but okay. Getting beyond that, yeah, I'm probably Big Bird sometimes. I'm probably the goofball in the midst and just the, which of these is not like the other kind of person. But we all feel that way, I think. She had many people saying, yeah, that's me too. Yeah, that's me too. And I was thinking, we all feel that way. Have you ever felt like the world is just spinning and you want to get off for a moment to catch your breath and that moment doesn't ever seem to come? Well, I'm glad you're joining me today as we're seeking out ways to encourage one another and pray with one another. And we're wanting to raise our kids with a biblical foundation. I would love you to connect with us more. We have a Bible momming chat that is coming up this Friday, the first Friday of the month. We do that, and it's at 9 a.m. If you're interested, I will be sending out the details to my newsletter, and that is with BibleMomming.com. You just scroll down to the bottom and say, I want to join the newsletter, and I will let those folks know. Plus, I will be letting the ladies over at the Bible Momming Facebook community know when this is, and if you want to be part of it, it's totally free. We go for maximum 45 minutes to an hour. I also put it up as a recording on my YouTube channel, and you can check it out after the fact as well. So you are welcome to join us. I think this month, due to the fact that we are, in fact, in November, and November is, the thankful month, right? We're going to talk about gratitude and just kind of thinking about it long term, not just this month. How do we be grateful? And as you can tell, I'm working through that myself. And I think a lot of us automatically put November in the thankful month category, and we do all sorts of stuff to try to get ourselves thankful. Some of us do thankful posts on whatever social media we do. Some of us take pictures of things that we're thankful for. I really like that because it's simple. I don't know about you, but sometimes I could be taking a walk in the neighborhood when I walk the dog, and I just find like the shape of a leaf fun. I don't know. I'm a weirdo sometimes, but I just think, well, that's an interesting plant. What made them put that there? It looks cool, and I just kind of make those little mental notes, and it makes me smile. Or, things that make me smile, or, the time I saw a hawk in our backyard, and I was like, wow, there's a hawk in my backyard. I never imagined there would be a hawk in my backyard. But we do that. We put the pictures up on Pinterest. We do our thankful boards in Pinterest, right? I don't know if you're a fan of Pinterest. I have my moments. And then we notice our kids, and we hear them griping about what they want, what their friends have got, what they wish they'd got. They gripe about not wanting to do their chores or help her out in different ways. And all we want is for them to be more grateful, right? Does it sound like your house? Because if that's what your house is like, you are not alone. That happens to us. I still remember going to a restaurant when my oldest daughter, Rachel, was, she's 18 now, but when she was an infant, well, not an infant, she could talk, so she was probably about 2. We went to a restaurant, and here she was in her little kiddie chair, sitting at the end of the table. And we were looking at the menus, and I just had this idea in my head that I want my kids to be able to order for themselves at a restaurant. I don't want them to be scared. So, we talked about it, and I told her what was there. Obviously, she couldn't read. So I'm telling her what's available. And she knew exactly what she wanted, so she goes, I want that, Mom. I said, okay. So when the lady comes, you're going to tell her. You're going to say, I want, and you tell her that, right? So we planned this out. And then the lady comes over, we place our order, and Rachel looks at me like, what do I do kind of thing. And I go, please, may I have? And she goes, please, may I have? In that little kid voice. And I don't know if it was, I want to say grilled cheese sandwich, something like that. Anyway, so she orders her food, and the waitress is very kind and helpful and all that kind of stuff. And then the waitress brings back the food and puts it in front of her. And I look at Rachel and I go, say thank you. And she looks up at the lady. She goes, thank you. And I'm not kidding. This woman looked at me and she goes, how did you do that? And I'm thinking, you just saw me, right? I told her to do it. And it was one of those kind of moments where I'm thinking, wait, so other people don't do this? Have other people not had this happen in their lives where somebody like taught them and then they did it and then they could do that with their own kids? And I realized, no, not everybody has. Not everybody does those things. So I'm thinking about what can we do as moms to help our kids? And I believe this is something you can do with your toddler. This is something you can do with your kinder kid, your tween, your teenager. You know, Oxford actually did a recent study that showed it is never too late to give parenting advice, to which when I read it, I yelled, amen, hallelujah. You'd be surprised at how much our kids listen and notice, even when it feels like, oh, they're not going to listen to me anymore. They are, in fact, still listening. They do still care. So as we're coming up with these secrets, here's the first thing. The first thing we need to do to help our kids be thankful is to be an example of thankfulness. If you're an appreciative person and they see it, then it becomes a value in their heads. If we tell them to do it and we ourselves are not doing it, then how valuable can it really be? You know, why would they want to do that? Mom doesn't do it. Mom gets away with it fine. If mom isn't saying please and thank you, well, then why should I? And so one of the big things we need to do is to work on ourselves and work on being thankful people ourselves. That can be something that we do when we're in the grocery store, remembering to say thank you to the cashier, remembering to say thank you to the waiter or waitress at a restaurant. When you're on the phone and you're talking to somebody, you know, your kids hear you. They know how you're talking to people. If it fits the situation, say thank you. When your spouse does something, it's real easy. And I know I've fallen into this. So my husband, who's probably listening, is going to probably come home and say, hey, yeah, you should do that more. I work on this. It's so easy for us to ignore saying thank you to the person who's helpful all the time. You know, say you guys have jobs that you do. You know, we all fall into the habits around the house. He almost always takes out the garbage, or he almost always does the lawn, or whatever it is. I mean, he could be the cook. He could be the person who, I don't even know. Maybe he's the toilet cleaner. I don't know. But whatever that thing is, even if he doesn't say it to you, because it's not your responsibility to make him thankful. It's your responsibility to be thankful. You can't control other people. Even our kids, we don't get to control them. We to a certain extent do when they're little, but as they get older, not as much. And so influence is what we've got. Influence, and it's powerful. There are guys who wish they had the kind of influence a mom has. So we can influence our kids by how we are thankful in our own lives and saying thank you, even for those regular things. I mean, my husband cleaned the counter in the kitchen the other day when it was really one of the girls' jobs. And I realized he wanted to hear a thank you because he made a point of saying, hey, you notice I did that, right? And I'm thinking, oh, you did that, but it was supposed to be them. He goes, no, I did that. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. Because, I mean, it's nice. It's helpful. And we should be thanking him. Also, when you pray, you know, it's real tempting when we're praying to just kind of get into gimme, gimme, gimme mode. You know, like God's a vending machine. He's not, actually. He's God of the universe, and there's so much more to him. But if you hear, my neighbors apparently have their gardener here, so welcome to my neighborhood. Needless to say, when we're praying, there's a need for us to say thank you to God. I mean, even when Jesus said his prayer, he said, "Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven." Right? Well, hallowed be your name. Holy is your name. You're amazing. We're grateful for you. This is a way of saying thank you. And being thankful is something that we want to work on with God even. And our kids hear us. Now, the second secret is to show them and teach them how it was modeled for us. So, for example, some of us grew up in the church, and we learned our thankful Bible verses, right? We've learned things like Psalm 75:1, where it says, "We thank you, O God. We give thanks because you are near. People everywhere tell of your wonderful deeds." Or we've learned things about like 1 Chronicles 16:34, where it says, "Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good. His faithful love endures forever." I love that one because, you're thanking God because his faithful love is forever and ever and ever. And that's just huge, right? I also love the example Paul set when he said in Philippians 1:3, he was talking to the people of Philippi, and he says in Philippians 1:3, "Every time I think of you, I give thanks to my God." He also did the same thing with the Ephesians. In Ephesians 5:20, he wanted to remind them of the value of being thankful. So he said, "And give thanks for everything to God the Father in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ." So this is something we want to help our kids to be aware of. We could do that by having, reading the Bible together, by making sure that we're praying and saying thank you to God. These are practices that we can do in our house. Our third secret is practice gratitude even when it doesn't feel comfortable. What can I still be thankful for? Like I'm talking to you about my eye issue. What can we still be thankful for? Well, I can be very thankful for modern medicine. Modern medicine, without it, I would be in much more pain. Without it, I would be struggling a whole lot more, and it would be very, very frustrating. Say your car breaks down. Say you've got bills up the kazoo. What are you thankful for, even in the midst of it? I mean, for us, we have a car that I'm currently driving around that has a crumpled door because the car is not worth more than fixing the door. And the door got crumpled as I was training my child in how to drive. Yay. Those are things that happen. And yet, at the same time, the challenge becomes, what am I still thankful for? I'll tell you what I'm thankful for. I am very thankful that my daughter learned a valuable lesson, and we were going all of 5 miles an hour at the time to do it. That nobody was hurt in the making of this dent. And so I praise God for that. There are ways that we can think about, okay, what can we be thankful for? And this is hugely helpful. I know that when I was in Toastmasters, one of the things that Toastmaster does, they do this mentoring kind of program where you help somebody get familiar with the Toastmasters program. And if you're not familiar with it, it's a great program for helping you to learn how to speak better. But when I was going through that, as I was reading the mentoring manual and how you're supposed to, take care and guide somebody through it, it actually said to encourage the person who is getting mentored, because I wasn't being the mentor, I was helping hook them up with mentors. So I was getting them together with other people. And so as I was doing it, it said, make sure they know to be thankful to the person who is mentoring them, to express that out loud and to say it. We assume it. You're grateful for people who are kind to you, but if it isn't actually done, then they don't know it. And it's not, then we're actually not being thankful. So this is something we have to practice. It's not something that we get. And number 4 is we have to practice it at home all the time. You practice at home because then you can use it abroad. Actors rehearse so that a show goes well. Athletes work out so the muscles know what to do when they're competing. This momming thing, it's not instant satisfaction type gig. It's a long haul thing. I'm with you through thick and thin, kids. We will be repeating ourselves over and over. And the things we repeat will be the things that we most often learn. So that is why, as parents, we find ourselves saying the same things our parents said to us because that stuck with us. It really did. We find ourselves going, what do you say? That's something that I never thought I would actually say. I never thought I would say to my child, what do you say? as a way of trying to get somebody to say thank you. I transitioned it to how do you show your appreciation? Are you glad they did that? How do you tell them? Say thank you, right? We have to practice it. We have to spell it out for our children, because appreciative people say thank you. And then you let them practice at home. Let them lead the family prayer. Let them come up with ideas for how to do things for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is actually an awesome time to help train up your kids, because here we have 30 days, right? It's the month of November. And if you take if you go, I'm going to do a thankful thing for November, and I want to be thankful every day of November, then guess what you're doing? You're helping to start a habit. We know that historically that on average, and this is on average, it takes about 30 days for a habit to form. Now, you can easily break that habit when it's only 30 days old, but you've got the ball rolling. So, to be thankful during November, and then keep that going as a parent, to choose to keep that going in some way during December. And then even if it tapers off, you're not doing it out loud every day, and you're not putting the Post-its up somewhere, or you're not, whatever it is you do. We actually like to write little notes, and sometimes we'll put them in a jar and we read them on Thanksgiving, or we'll put them up on our wall or some sort of thing like that. But you're not going to do that in December and January and February and so on. That doesn't mean the brain isn't thinking about that. So you start forming this habit, and that's why, even though I felt like it's sometimes kind of trite, where sometimes, hey, it's the thankful month, we got to talk thankful things. But I love the way that we can start getting into the habit of being thankful people during November. That's an awesome habit for us to have, for ourselves and for our kids. And you can teach them through, okay, we're going to write the thank you letters for presents from Christmas. I know a lot of people don't do thank you letters as much, but if you've ever received a thank you note, getting thank you notes are so nice. It's classy, So go ahead, give it a shot. Do thank you notes, or thank you emails, or thank you texts, or find your favorite thankful, bit emoji, and you put, make sure you send that out. Do your thank you Instagrams where you have your handy dandy sign up and you're saying thank you to everybody. Whatever it is. Now, your kids, I want you to understand, they will resist. I mean, I've done this in some way, shape, or form with my kids. They're almost their whole lives, and I have had pushback. So if you're starting later in their lives, if you have more of a pushback kind of a kid, they will push back. That's normal. But what they're really trying to do is they're wanting to see how important it is really to you. They want to know, if they push back, will you stop? Because you see, if it's not that important to you, then when they push back, you'll stop. You'll stop trying to be thankful. You'll stop trying to get them to be thankful. And then they'll make a little mental note. See, that wasn't that important. And they'll move on. So I want to encourage you, if you decide that being thankful, but that being a person of gratitude is valuable to you, then they, even though they push back, they will begin to consider it as a value for them. And let me help you with that as you're trying to figure out, well, I don't know if I really want to be grateful, Paula. That's just, it's just another thing to do. What's the value of that really? I mean, it's just 2 words, thank you, right? And let me encourage you. I found this article, and I'm going to put a link to it on the show notes for this show. But it was in Forbes, and I like this article because it put together several different research things that are out there about gratitude into one article. You can easily find them all over the place in separate places, but this is faster. What they came up with in this article, and it was scientifically proven benefits of gratitude that will motivate you to give thanks year-round, right? And so things that they discovered was that grateful people open the door to having more friendships in their lives. If you tend to be a more grateful person, you're just more open to making friends, meeting friends, greeting people, all that kind of stuff. Grateful people have better mental and physical health. It helps you physiologically. It also helps you psychologically, right? Grateful people are more empathetic. They tend to be less aggressive. That doesn't mean that you can't be grateful and be a drive-go-doer and get things done. I know lots of drive-go-doers who are incredibly thankful people. But you're not as easily angered. Grateful people sleep better. And they actually have a better sense of their own self-esteem, their own self-worth. And so I just want to encourage you as a mom, if you're trying to figure out what the value of this is for you, don't quit on your kids and don't quit on you. The value of being thankful isn't just limited to Thanksgiving. Believe in the possibilities of thankfulness and believe what they will give, and then you'll be able to keep trying. It takes years to raise a child. Repetition is going to happen. That's okay. Keep going, mamas. I've enjoyed this time we have together. I know you have plenty of things to do and many options. So thank you for listening. Remember, love is patient, love is kind, and that is never more real than in our families. God bless you and have a great week.